Okay, in this video, I'd like to talk about the 5 platonic solids and how they relate to frequency and vibration in the matter universe and in the antimatter universe. So let's get started. Basically, you have 2 dimensions, space and counter space, and you have a plane of inertia in between. Everything's working on 369, just as Nikola Tesla said. The 5 platonic solids are super important to tying physics to metaphysics and understanding ultimate reality. Once you understand that everything is running on a scale of low frequency to high frequency or high frequency to low frequency, that's how you can understand how everything's working. When I was a kid, I went to a Montessori school, and the very first day I was there, I saw these platonic solids. They were sitting on this back shelf, and for some reason I gravitated to them every single time that we were allowed to play with the toys. And I would pick these things up and just think all kinds of different thoughts. And I'm making this video today because this is what really got me thinking in different dimensions and how everything's actually functioning in reality. So you would start off with the tetrahedron. The tetrahedron is just basically a pyramid. And this is the Pythagorean secret to incommensurability, according to Ken Wheeler. This is the most important geometry right here, because this is the jumper or the gateway into the matter universe or into space. So you have 5 platonic solids. The 5 platonic solids are the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron. The reason that this one is so important, and the reason that there's a huge one of these sitting at Giza, is because the Pythagoreans had figured out that this is the perfect proportionality. And this represents the water molecule, the hydrogen and the oxygen. So these shapes are super important to understand everything, because everything is being built from the hydrogen. So the subatomic hydrogen is what is held together by the magnetism in the dimension of space. You have space and you have counter space with a plane of inertia in between. And everything is working like this. If you start at a 0 point here, or the plane of inertia, and increase in frequency, you are basically increasing your complexity in shape. So it's like the harmonics in a music scale. And this is why frequency is the universal language. Everybody can understand frequency. So frequency is the universal language. So these 5 platonic solids really got me thinking in extra dimensions when I was young. And they come from the Greek philosopher Pythagoras, and he's the one that came up with a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's the Pythagorean theorem. This is the Pythagorean secret to incommensurability, is this proportionality of that triangular shape right there. The whole thing is working just like this. The tetrahedron has 4 faces. It represents fire. The cube has 6 faces. It represents earth. The octahedron has 8 faces. It represents air. The dodecahedron has 12 faces. It represents the cosmos and the zodiac. The icosahedron has 20 faces and it represents water. So this is how this whole thing is working in the matter universe. Platonic solids are super important to understanding both physics and metaphysics. So the tetrahedron with tetra meaning 4, it has 4 faces and it has a very special number to it. Like I said, this is the gateway or the jumper to the matter dimension of space and light. That's why Pink Floyd had that triangle on the Dark Side of the Moon album cover. And it had the wand representing the counter space where everything comes from and where the magic happens going into space. Invisible light. So that's why you see the rainbow coming out the other end. So the rainbow light spectrum coming out the other end. So the tetrahedron has a special number associated with its vertex figure. Its vertex figure number is 3.3.3. So it's all to do with the geometry and the complexity and the frequency. Like I said, it keeps stepping up, until it can't step up anymore. So your cube has 6 faces, 12 edges, 8 vertices. Your octahedron has 8 faces. Your dodecahedron has 12 plane faces. Your icosahedron has 20 plane faces. So it's stepping up from left to right. The numbers usually associated with your tetrahedron are 3, with your cube 4, with your octahedron is 8, with your dodecahedron is 10, and with your icosahedron is 20. So we have to include a couple more shapes for you to get the full picture on what's going on with the whole space, counter space, matter, antimatter universe that we're dealing with. And to understand that, you have to throw this sphere into the mix. Okay, now the sphere is a regular polyhedra. Okay, the surfaces of the regular polyhedra in platonic solids are sphere-like. If they were made of rubber, you could lay them to form spheres. The polyhedra have the following property. There are numbers n and m such that every face is a regular n or a gon, and that every vertex is an ordered m. So you would start off like this. You would start off using this as your scale. This representing counter space, or ether, or dielectricity, whatever you want to call it. And then this would be your matter, space, visible light. This is your white hole. This is your black hole. This is pulling down. This is pushing up. So what's going on is when you take your sphere and place it before the tetrahedron, this would represent your counter space, or your dielectricity, or your antimatter. This is the pure potential where everything is emulating from. This is your driver. This is your plutonium. Okay? This is where all the pure potential exists. All this along here is your release of that energy. This would be the dielectric counter space. This is your jumper point, and this is where visible matter starts to form. So this is black hole, a neutral, and then this is your positive. So this would be your negative. So you have to throw that sphere in there to understand how this whole thing's working. And then once you pass from counter space to that 0 point, or that pyramid, that's your jumper, that's your gateway. And then you would be into matter, visible light. So that's what the cube is. It's the basic form of matter. It symbolizes, okay, so that's what's going on with how all these craft are making the jump from space to a complete 0 point in the counter space. So it's all about stepping up in complexity or stepping down in complexity, raising that frequency up or raising it down. So this whole thing is basically working off resistance, no resistance, and dead zero stop. So the tetrahedron also symbolizes harmony and equilibrium. So the four corners point equidistantly from the others. There's no stress or strain or any tension. Okay, so that would represent here, this 0 point. That would represent exactly in the middle here. So here's your 0, plane of inertia. So that's, like I said, that's your jumper between counter space and space. Okay, like I said, the tetrahedron symbolizes harmony and equilibrium. So it's like at rest. There's no stress or strain or tension. Where by contrast, the corner points of the cube lie at different distances from each other, which result in a condition of everlasting stress. So this is at rest, this is your 0 point, this is at stress. This is life, this is matter, this is time. And then there's your anti-time. So that's how this whole thing is working. So, like I said, you keep stepping up the platonic solids in frequency, in complexity. It's working no different than the music scale. Same way. Same way as a ruler. So there's another shape that needs to be figured in this whole thing too, because this is the other end of the spectrum. And this is the Merkaba, or Metatron's cube. And it's just basically one pyramid on top of another pyramid. And it's an extremely powerful symbol. That's why I have one right here. This is my spinning delta T. And it represents this whole thing. So this has to be figured in the equation. The Merkaba is an extremely powerful symbol. It's two tetrahedrons, one up, one down. And in the center it forms a star. So Merkaba means, Mer means light, Ka means spirit, Ba means body. Okay, so this is the other end of the spectrum. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, if you were to start from low to high, keep increasing frequency. Oh, by the way, in counter space, you would have no frequency at all, because there's zero magnetism in counter space, complete dielectricity. So here, you'd start your frequency up, in the electromagnetic spectrum. Up, increasing. The gain would keep increasing until the gain would get so high. You would keep going up the scale until the gain would get so high that it would go and loop back around, meaning that it would get to the top and basically come back around. So it would no longer be invisible light, it would be invisible, because it would be funneling back around into counter space. So it's jumping back to where it came. This is how the UFO craft are working. They're making this jump from this point in the complexity of the Merkaba, and they can get to here, counter space. That's how it's working. Because when you take this Merkaba shape and rotate it, it gives you the spatial dimension of magnetism here, the toroid, and the counterspatial dimension of the hourglass shape right here of counter space. It's showing you both things. This is my 3D model of reality. I've created this. This is my invention. And here's the hourglass shape. That's the hyperboloid. Here is your donut or your toroid. Space, visible light, counter space. That's how you make the jump right there. That right angle maneuver. So that's how this whole thing is working regarding the platonic solids and with frequency. This is how things are not moving from A to B, but jumping from a point in space to a point in non-space. From a point in time to a point in non-time. It can be explained with the platonic solids and frequency. Because everything is vibration in the matter universe. Everything's vibrating. But when you get into pure ether, it's the opposite. There's no AC waveform. because you just eliminated the magnetism. It's that simple. Thanks for watching. If you haven't seen my other videos, please check them out.